Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another live session. Welcome to our new and returning listeners. I pray that all is well. Yeah, it's been an interesting end of year, beginning of year, well, Gregorian year, but a lot of things happening, family. Oh my gosh, it's really hard to keep up with all of this. 2025 came in with a bang, wouldn't you say? But yeah, I think we need to put our skates on because we kind of see how, things are going to be progressing from now until 2030. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. But welcome to our new and returning listeners. Praises to the Most High Yah for all of you. I will check in with some later to see what you all are talking about. But oh my goodness, I have so much that I need to cover. So I am going to go ahead and dive right in this. So, family, it's heating up out there. As I said, the world is racing towards 2030. And those who think they rule the world need to have certain things accomplished this year because this year is the midway point. This is the midway point. So, are you ready for what's coming? Are you ready for what's coming? So, we're going to be talking about the path forward in 2025 and beyond. There have been many predictions, including disruptions throughout our culture, technology, science, health, and the business sectors. And we see these things happening daily. The powers that be are saying that they are preparing for a better world. So they're going to make it seem like, everything's just a complete disaster because they need to get to their end goal. But are their plans in agreement with the prophecies we see in Scripture? We know no, absolutely not. They are not. But did you know that there are people out there who are looking forward to the end of humanity? Just wrap your brain around that. People who are looking forward to the end of humanity. When you hear that, you may think it's insane, but there are folks, they're working to help speed up this process. And I'm going to read an excerpt from this Atlantic Star article, and it's entitled, "The People Cheering for Humanity's End." Yeah, let that sink in. It says, "Man is an invention of recent date." Well, let's just pause right there. Man is an invention? Well, who invented man? Do you see how they are? They won't even say creation anymore. Man was invented. Well, then who invented man? Well, pretty soon they're going to present these beings who will say that they did. So now the wording is man is an invention, and one perhaps nearing its end. With this declaration in the order of things, the French philosopher Michel Foucault heralded a new way of thinking that would transform the humanities and social sciences. Foucault's central idea was that the ways we understand ourselves as human beings aren't timeless or natural, no matter how much we take them for granted. Rather, the modern concept, and you have to keep in mind, when they say modern, they're talking about what the changes were when the Indo-Europeans took over. The modern concept of man was invented in the 18th century with the emergence of new modes of thinking about biology, society, and language, and eventually it will be replaced in turn, is what they're saying. Well, I want to share some information from Farrell's Journal of Theology. And this was written this year, you all. It's called Redeeming the Future, exploring the theological implications of transhumanism in missions. So it says transhumanism reflects the future of technology due to its power to enhance human beings and create powerful AI. Proponents of the transhumanist agenda are actively striving towards achieving post-human status, which represents the ultimate objective. I hope you caught that. This is the ultimate objective of their movement. They want to enhance man because the way he was created wasn't good enough. They want to achieve post-human status. Do you know what that is? Post-human refers to a state beyond being human, where humans exist in an interconnected relationship with non-humans. Well, who are the non-humans? They've been preparing you for that. All of these events, things flying around the sky, they're getting you ready for that because they need to complete their ultimate objective and make sure they get man to a state of post-human status. It says they are dedicated to preparing themselves to transcend the limitations of humanity through technological enhancement and evolution. Its role in the future of human enhancements lead to questions for the church on how it will engage in digital theology, and its argument on whether to accept or reduce the role of transhumanism, since humans are created as God's image. So they're putting this burden of responsibility on the church, and you're going to see that it's going to be an interesting ride. Now, it's going to talk about the church and transhumanists and how they have to work together to navigate this digital frontier. So I want you to listen carefully to how they try to merge this idea in with scripture. It says Christianity and transhumanism share the notion that the old self transforms into a new self. Paul's theology talks about God's transforming grace, where a person's old self is put to death and a new self emerges as a unique identity in Christ. However, for Christianity, Paul mentions that the new self is more authentic. The new self is also profoundly different from the original self, since it did not live in Christ and has not experienced a renewal of its mind. The central difference between transformation through Christ and technology lies in a person's wishes. So whatever you want to be, you can be. It says, for instance, when a person seeks enhancement through technology, they seek to achieve the desires of the old self. However, among Christians, the new self is the gradual creation of the persona of Christ within them. Christianity and transhumanism are similar, yet profoundly different in critical ways. Transhumanists call for technological enhancements, listen, to bring the old self to a higher life. The paradox of personal transformation through Christ and technology calls for attention among Christians today, leading to discussions about how the church responds to transhumanism. And so we're going to look at how they're analyzing how the church in the digital era responds to transhumanist people and contexts. You all, It's going to get real as we go on here. Don't miss this part. It says numerous scholars today claim that transhumanism represents a new form of religion. Drop the mic right there. Transhumanism is a new form of religion. It says, for instance, William Sims Bainbridge, a sociologist of religion, talks about transhumanism as a new form of religion. Bainbridge has had close links with the transhumanist movement since the 1980s and contributed to disseminating transhumanism ideas as an NBIC reporter. Bainbridge promotes the idea that transhumanism is a religion that supports the progress of civilization and serves to channel new energy and create meaning for post-humans. Other sociologists with similar views, and they list these folks, they envision transhumanism as religion 2.0. Wow. Because it gives people a purpose and a new hope for a better future. It says the church has varying opinions on such views and transhumanist contexts. Emerging technologies and transhumanism present opportunities for the Catholic Church. Do you see how they're putting them out front already? For the Catholic Church to promote human dignity and adapt to the changing nature of humanity. The Catholic Church, the church that Rome built. It says, unlike post-humanism, transhumanism aligns more closely, listen, with the church's mission to defend human dignity and effectively deliver sacraments. By embracing transhumanism, the church can thrive alongside a flourishing, technologically enhanced humanity. Are you all sitting down? But do you see who will be pushing this first? The Roman Catholic Church. Now, how long before her daughters take up the mantle on this? So listen to how this will work. Transhumanists believe that in the future, it will be possible to transfer or upload human minds into computer systems. Uploading human minds into the computer system will potentially eliminate a person's problematic biological existence, including challenges with diseases, ages, and limited physical capabilities. You all, they will always wrap it up in look at the good we're doing to help people. People can now see, they can walk. This is good for humanity. It says transhumanists believe that such technological developments make transhumanism a new religion for post-humans, listen, devoid of God. While one might assume such results will be impossible, transhumanists express great confidence in their visions. I wonder why. They recognize that their faith in science is comparable to religious belief, since it will open the door to human enhancements that exist only in science fiction, implying that transhumanism will possibly be a new religion. So, Max Moore supports such notions by arguing that transhumanism functions as a religion despite lacking an appeal to a higher power supernaturally or supernatural entity, and without the other core features of religion. So religious people view Moore's remarks as promoting a cult religion and failing to understand humanity, while transhumanists promote the idea of having their religion. Christians realize that spirituality and society are hugely interconnected, and current religion cannot simply fade away to give room for a transhuman religion. So I want you all to think about how vigorously the church will push back on this. I'm thinking it will be about as hard as they pushed back on the Kool-Aid back in 2020. So it says, leading promoters of transhumanism collide with Christian leaders through various arguments. They argue that transhumanism is similar to Christianity in specific ways. The return of Christ promises humans a new world free from pain and death. Transhumanism also promises that you all these demons. It says transhumanism also promises that technological breakthroughs will free humans from the pain of diseases, and uploading their minds into computer systems will free them from death. They add that religion is wired into human brains due to human evolution and cannot be abandoned without a major transformation of human nature. Transhumanism will not make religion obsolete, but will lead to its development. In the future, religion will become transcendent and radical, taking humans to the stars and eliminating the ugly reality of death. Christian leaders criticize such ideas and dismiss them as vain. However, instead of dismissing the views of transhumanism promoters, Christians should consider how to respond to it while maintaining their theological mission. Some theologians welcome the opening chapter that transhumanism will bring and explore how theology can inform and support such emerging technologies. Do you think this is going to be a hard fight for them to sell to these religious leaders? I don't think so. Listen to this example. Calvin Mercer, as cited by Pew, a Christian theologian, explores how the Christian belief of a resurrected body can live with the ability of personhood existing in a hybrid post-human body. Many people today also recognize the value AI programs and transhumanism will have on humans. So Mercer urges the acceptance of agendas like transhumanism. It says other Christians also consider the promise of salvation as transhumanism seeks to relieve people from biological suffering. So, yeah, they have an answer and they are going to roll this out, family. Do you see why Yah's people have to come out of religion? Isn't this similar to the message when they push the Kool-Aid? Just trust the science. This is for your good. Look to science for your healing. Folks, this is the midway point. The sons of darkness, they have a set agenda. Most of you have already heard about the 2030 agenda. And as I said, we are at the halfway point. Here's what Klaus Schwab had to say during the pandemic. The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. This is what the pandemic offered to them, an opportunity to reset the world. Then was it a planned event so that they could reset the world? This is what the United Nations had to say recently. They're halfway to 2030, and the world is nowhere near reaching the the goals. So they sent out a warning. It's like, hey, we're at the halfway point. So what do you think will need to happen next? They're going to have to ramp things up. According to them, they're going to focus on the 5 P's: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and the planet. It all sounds good, doesn't it? But what are you giving up for that? What will you give up? Here are their core principles. Universality. So this will be a universal initiative, and they plan to leave no one behind. Lofty goals, don't you think? They talk about the interconnectedness and indivisibility. Indivisibility is a fact that something is not able to be separated from something. So once you connect, there's no going back. That's it for you. That's it. And this is going to be all inclusive, folks. That's what they're warning. So many know that Agenda 2030 is the UN's quest for a one world government. They're saying the UNWEF quest for one world government. That's what they're pushing for. And for those of you who may not already know this, there are only 2 countries that are not members or in the United Nations, like participating, going along with the agenda. There are only 2. And technically, no one really sees them as separate countries. It's the Vatican and Palestine. But let's back up to see why they're not members of the United Nations. The Vatican is the world's only independent nation that chose not to apply for membership because, according to the Pope, he says he doesn't want to directly affect international policy. That was his reason. But the real reason for not doing so is that if the Vatican was unable to meet the UN's definition of a country, then technically they don't qualify. Not to mention that they would then have to prove that, oh, yes, we're still a religious organization and not a country. Now, what about Palestine? I think we know the answer there. We know the answer there. Palestine has applied for full United Nations membership multiple times, but it remains in the observer status. Well, it says it's because of their violent and ongoing territorial dispute with Israel. There you have it. There you have it. So what's really going on, family? Prophecy is being fulfilled and things are falling into place. Listen to this from Revelation 17:10-14. This is the vision given to John on the island of Patmos. And I want you to just think about this. I have inserted keywords here so that you can really think about this as I'm reading it. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. So he's saying, okay, if there are 7 kings, 5 are no more. 1 is. So he's in the time of this 6th king. and the other is not yet come. So the seventh king is not there yet. It says, and when he cometh, the seventh king, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. Now, when you read it, it's like, what in the world is that talking about? It's kind of hard to figure out the wording here. What does it mean when it says the beast was and is not? Even he is the eighth and is of the seven. Well, what were the seven? It says the seven are kings. So the beast was one of the seven kings. It says 5 are fallen and 1 is, and the other is not, as in that king is not here yet. But when he gets here, he's going to rule for a short space of time. So, what happens then when this beast is on the scene again? It says he was one of the seven. Family, do you see where I'm going with this? It says even he is the eighth. Well, how can he be the eighth if he was one of the seventh? He returns, and he is one of the seven. And it says he goes into perdition. It goes on to say, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet. So you see what you see happening, all this shuffling. Trump talking about we're going to take Greenland, we're going to take the Panama Canal, and yeah, Canada needs to be a part of the United States and become a state. They're reshuffling things, family. They need to have these 10 kings in place. How do we know this has not happened? Because it tells you what's going to happen after these things take place. So it goes on to say, they had not received their kingdom as yet, but they received power as kings. No kingdom, but power as kings. And they'll have 1 hour with the beast. So I don't think that's a literal 1 hour on our clock. It says these have one mind. What do you think they're moving toward in 2030? If everyone's uploaded to the computer, they're going to have one mind, because they will be controlled by technology. Everybody will be on the same page, almost like the is it called the Borg or the Berg? I think it's the Borg in Star Trek. They were all of one mind, thought the same thing, they did the same thing, behaved the same way. There will be no autonomy. And it says, and they shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the land. So then that tells you this couldn't have happened already. If they're going to make war with the Lamb, we know then that this is an end time. This happens at the end. And the Lamb shall overcome them, because he's the Most High. He's the Lord of Lords. He's over all of them. He's the King of Kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So he has already called and he has already chosen some who are faithful, who will be coming with him to fight against this. I hope you're seeing this, family, because this ties into the prophecy from Daniel. If you go back and read Daniel 7, and we're going to see there are some parallels here when he talks about those 10 horns and those 10 kingdoms. Now, so we have to look at, okay, certain things happened in Daniel's day, And we see how those things manifested or how they occurred with Alexander and all of those other kingdoms. But remember, family, there are certain prophecies that are dual prophecies, where it's speaking about events that's happening in the future, and it's also pointing to something that will come. I'm sorry, I said that in the wrong order. It's talking about things that are happening in the present, but it's also pointing to something that will happen in the future. And a lot of the prophecies, if you don't read them with that understanding, you read a certain prophecy and say, oh, well, this already happened. This can't be talking about now. But there are usually key words that's happening in the context to let you know that this is pertaining to now and it's going to pertain to something that will happen in the future. So I hope that's making sense for you. So we see that they will be trying to wage war with the Lamb. That's what they're preparing for right now. Here's the thing. They know they can't win if man remains in a human fleshly body the way that he is now. He has to have he needs some enhancements. I hope you're getting that. So in order to fight against the Lamb, they're saying their soldiers will need to be able to withstand some things. So they need to bring in these enhancements. And you know what? If you look at what they're saying, some of it mirrors what the Most High is saying to us about being of one mind, having the mind of our Messiah. This is what they're trying to do. They need to be one. Singularity. That's what they're shooting for. And it's like, we need to then get rid of those who cannot join us. So who do you think they're going to be fighting against? Yeah. So let's go on. We see what they're doing here. We're going to go on because, as I said, it's a lot to cover. Look at this from CNET. Your guide to a better future. Well, exactly what are they talking about? Using CRISPR to resurrect the dead. Say what? Now let's go back to what I just said about that beast. How could it be that he was, but yet he will be again? Think about it. He was one of them, one of the five, but he's also the eighth. So this says using CRISPR to resurrect the dead. Gene editing breakthroughs could allow us to bring extinct species like the woolly mammoth back from the dead. It says, but should we? Yeah, CRISPR. They're using gene editing. That's why they're trying to find all these dead bones. That's why they're trying to get these mummies. They're trying to find whatever DNA they can get because they're using it. It says CRISPR is a burgeoning and gene editing technology that acts like a molecular blade, slicing DNA apart and allowing us to add and subtract genes at will. It's being used, now they're going to tell you it's for the good. It's used to combat invasive species, destroy antibiotic resistance bacteria, and let me just ask, why couldn't it destroy that event that they planned in 2019? Why didn't it destroy that? So it says, and controversially, edit the genes of human embryos. In fact, It's so exceptional at editing DNA that de-extinction, the process of bringing extinct species back from the dead, is on the table. You all, Science has already unraveled the DNA code of long dead species. We know they're talking about the woolly mammoth, but that's really not what they're talking about here. They are really not talking about the wool. Why would we need to bring that back? Think about how huge that thing was. So now think about the passage I read about the beast that was. What would we call something that was and then it died, but it now is? Are you seeing this, family? Listen to this CNN article. Why resurrection biology is gaining traction around the world. Did you all know that? It's gaining traction. Most of us didn't even know they were doing that. This came out December of last year. This is gaining traction around the world. So is it possible they've already been bringing some things back? Things that were in the ground? It says for bioengineering pioneer Cesar de la Fuente, presidential assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania, the past is a source of opportunity that has opened up a new front in the fight against drug-resistant superbugs. Again, they will keep putting these words out there to make people think that this is a great thing. Advances in the recovery of ancient DNA from fossils mean that detailed libraries of genetic information about extinct human relatives, stop right there and think about their extinct human relatives, and long-lost animals are now publicly available. The machine biology group he leads at UPenn uses intelligence-based computational methods to mine this genetic information and identify small protein or peptide molecules they believe to have bacteria-fighting powers. He has discovered promising compounds from Neanderthals and Ice Age creatures such as the woolly mammoth and giant sloth. Okay, family, I think you already know where this is headed, right? You know where this is headed. That right there. They're wanting to bring the long lost ancestors back. They want Uncle Billy to come back. Now, it should not be a surprise that they are doing these things because we know where they are getting the information. If you don't know by now, these folks are using witchcraft and the occult. You should know that by now. And it's not like that's new. What did Saul ask the witch of Endor to do? He wanted her to summon the spirit of Samuel. Do you know who else? Well, I want you to look at this. Meet the medium who helps law enforcement solve the unsolvable. Did you know that law enforcement is now using witches to help them solve their cases? Who else was heavily into the occult? You remember this guy, Nikola Tesla? It says Nikola Tesla invention from 100 years ago suddenly makes more sense today. The eccentric inventor is known for dabbling with electricity, but his Tesla valve is impressing scientists anew. Interesting. Nikola Tesla. It says Nikola Tesla's surprising connection to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Well, we're just going to look at the connection to Donald Trump.
Two-line. You know the one.
I'm not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist.
I don't know the science behind climate change.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist, and I've got the grades to prove it.
No, Trump is a scientist. Well, he's got an uncle who's a scientist. The president was asked about climate change yesterday by the Associated Press and said, and I quote here, "My uncle was a great professor at MIT for many years, Dr. John Trump. And I didn't talk to him about this particular subject, but I have a natural instinct for science, and I will say that you have scientists on both sides of the picture." So, he didn't talk to his uncle about climate change, but he knows what scientists think because he has a natural instinct for science, because Uncle John, who worked in MIT. If that makes no sense to you, Trump will explain further at length, and that's thing 2 in 60 seconds. Say what you want about Donald J. Trump, but there is one thing that is not open for debate, and that is whether or not he is a very smart person.
My uncle, because I do believe in the racehorse theory, right? Slow horses don't produce fast horses, right? I even had an uncle. If you believe in genes, some do, some don't. My uncle was a great professor. But my uncle was a professor for years. I even talk about my uncle was a professor at MIT. My uncle was one of the top people at MIT. But I'm smarter than him. I'm smarter than anybody. I come from a very smart family. It's a smart family. And, we're smart. I had an uncle who was a great professor for, I believe, 40 years at MIT. And I used to discuss nuclear with him all the time. I understand nuclear. Look up Dr. John Trump at MIT. He was my uncle, many, many years a professor. I used to talk nuclear with him. In fact, every time I say I had an uncle who was a great professor at MIT for 35 years, who did a fantastic job in so many different ways academically. He was an academic genius. And then they say, "There's Donald Trump, an intellectual. Trust me, I'm like a smart person."
He talked nuclear with his uncle all the time. Now, I want you to see this connection, because for some of you, this will put some of the pieces of the puzzle together. I want you to see the connection between Tesla, Trump, and Donald's uncle. And then we're going to tie somebody else in.
From New York, I boarded a plane to Boston to find Dr. John Trump of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Dr. Trump was now retired from the company he founded, High Voltage Engineering, but he agreed to meet me at the company office the next morning.
In the spring of 1943, Dr. Carl T. Compton, who was then president of MIT, asked me to go to New York and examine the effects of Nikola Tesla. These were contained in an upper floor of a warehouse somewhere in New York City. And I spent a good deal of time examining one by one the papers, the books, and various other memorials that he had accumulated. But I was particularly looking for something which would be evidence of a secret weapon, which I was reminded by the agents, the two agents who were present during the entire time, was a matter of concern to the United States. In the course of this, I did come across a number of letters directed at the upper echelon of the British Empire, that is, I think, to the King and Queen, or perhaps just to the King of England, and also to the Tsar of Russia, explaining that he was the inventor of a secret weapon which had rather remarkable properties, and that he would be interested in entering into a negotiation which would lead to a disclosure of what they were. Of course, I spent a good deal of time looking through these papers, trying to find out what the nature of this secret weapon was. I think I had, although I don't remember it so very accurately, an idea of what its properties were. It had the capability of acting at a great distance, of being destructive to flying objects and things of that kind, at a place which was remote from the source. But nowhere in his technical papers did I find anything which revealed an explanation of just how such a device could operate.
I believe that you also opened another box, supposedly a secret weapon that he left at another hotel. Can you relate that story, please?
Yes, when I had substantially concluded my study on the following day, I think that was a Saturday morning, I was reminded by one of the two agents that there was a box being held as a security for an unpaid obligation, and that this box was an item of considerable value and may indeed itself be the secret weapon, that it was armed and therefore it probably was not touched.
Were you nervous doing this?
I found it a matter of a bit of concern. However, I realized that this had to be done, and so we taxied down to this hotel. The agents...
Now, what did Trump say? He talked nuclear with his uncle all the time. And what did Tesla have? He said he had a secret weapon. It was called the Teleforce. Later, they called it a death ray. And if you continue watching the videos about this process, this Tesla, as I said, heavily into occultism, he had a whole lot of stuff that they couldn't figure out how to make it work because they didn't have the technology. Now they do. Now they do. Now just think about Hiroshima. The United States got their hands on a new weapon, and if you had a new weapon, you need to find somewhere to use it, right? Right? So, yeah, that was his uncle. His uncle had access to Tesla's documents, and he said he spent a lot of time examining them. So, another thing that Tesla was working on, talked about, he said in the video, this thing had the capacity of being destructive, and he talked about flying objects. Well, what were those flying objects? Let's go on, family. The article goes on to say, as unpredictable as the current U.S. presidential elections have been, a striking historical side note lies in their connection to the famous Serbian inventor, Nikola Tesla. A few days after Tesla died on January 8th, 1943, his possessions were seized by officials from the amazingly named Government Office of Alien Property. About 3 weeks after that, all of Tesla's things and documents were given a thorough examination by a group of FBI agents that included none other than John G. Trump, the uncle of the current, or back then he was the candidate. But yes, he had access to all of those documents. So it says, John G. Trump's analysis, those after he analyzed all these papers, he concluded, well, Tesla's thoughts and efforts during at least the past 15 years were primarily of a speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional character, but did not include new, sound, workable principles or methods for realizing such results. Then why are we seeing some of those things today? It says, but such official dismissal of the significance of the papers Tesla left behind understandably did not sit well with many folks throughout the next 73 years, as if the government would really be willing to admit that it found plans for, let's say, the death ray. Do you put that in chest? Do you think they honestly would say that they had found it or that it was important? Tesla had offered to let Russia buy it. I mean, you're not going to put something out there and say, I will sell this to you if he didn't have anything. Let's go on. It says the papers have been partially released, but are still really hard to track down. So what became of Tesla's most secret tech? What became of it? Who has the papers? Who has the papers? Because as he says, well, my uncle's talking tech, or what he says, nuclear. My uncle talks nuclear with me all the time. He said, this says Trump recalled the times how his uncle would tell him many years ago about the power of weapons someday, that the destructive force of those weapons would be so massive that it's going to be a scary world. Something to think about, family. So his doctor, his uncle was a doctor of science at MIT. He would have been able to understand the information in Tesla's papers. What did he do with that information? What did he do with that information? Another thing Tesla was working on, time travel. Did you all know that? Tesla's time travel experiment. He said, I could see the past, present, and future all at the same time. Now that's quite interesting. What happened to that information? Now let's ask, is it any wonder these two are so close and seem to be joined at the hip all of a sudden? What do you think about that? Just all of a sudden, joined at the hip. What are we missing here? What are we missing? Because if Trump couldn't do anything with the information he had received, he certainly could have passed it on to someone who could do something with it. How many inventions have we seen so far from this guy? Every time you turn around, something new. And I've said this many times before. This one here is suspect. I don't think he is who he says he is, and that's just me. He's suspect. But let's read this from Revelation 16:13-14. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So these unclean things were coming out of all of their mouths. It says, for they are the spirits of devils. What are these devils doing? Working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to battle of that great day of the Most High Yah. Are you making some connections here, family? These kings of the earth have a vested interest. They're all a part of the same circle. We're talking about bloodlines here. For those of you who still seem to get caught up in elections, presidents are not elected. They are selected. There's a bloodline that's being passed on. And I want you to think about our study right now on the Indo-Europeans. So what we see happening is the evil one preparing his people for the great battle. He's arming them with technology and other means because they really think they will win, particularly when you add in transhumanism. So if it's like, well, the scripture says the fight will be between man and the Most High, well, we'll make sure that man is something else. He's now a hybrid. So how prepared are we, family? If you look at our condition right now, you would have to say we could be in a world of hurt if things kicked off right now. Are we really focused on the battle that's coming? But listen to what this says from Deuteronomy 32:36. For the Most High shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none shut up or left. So we are in no position whatsoever to fight against these sons of darkness in our own strength. We cannot defend ourselves against this. You just need to know that right off the bat. We will be forced to cry out to our warrior, the one who fights for us. He is our Redeemer, and he will save us. Our fight is one of faith. But some are having a hard time even believing that he can save and deliver. Some are struggling. Faith is our time machine. Yah gives us revelation when we spend time in his presence. He equips his people, but some don't even know how to get ready. Where's your armor? I was reading through the war scrolls about the sons of light and the various battles they would have to fight against the sons of darkness. Do you understand that this battle has to take place, family? It has to take place. I did a video a month ago called War is on the Horizon, and there's a reason why it must come. I really encourage you to listen to that video if you have not already done so. But the War Scroll is one of the books found in the Dead Sea Scroll, and it delves into the time of Jacob's trouble, the trouble that comes for Israel. We call it time of Jacob's trouble. And it's classified as an event where it's talking about the judgment, the terror, the horror that will come, and apocalyptic literature is how they refer to it. But you will find many parallels to other prophecies of Scripture regarding the end times. So the War Scrolls is mainly talking about how Israel prepared for war. But I picked out 4 key points. And number 1 was referencing the time of trouble, and it would be greater than Israel had ever experienced before. The second one was referencing a battle in which the children of the Most High and angels will fight. Now let's pause and think about that. And that's not the first time that it's happened. If you go back and read the Old Testament, angelic forces were fighting on behalf of our people. So this is not new. But we really need to expand our expectations about what the Most High wants to do in us and through us. We're supposed to do great exploits, family. So It's talking about us fighting with the angels. And in that passage, it was talking about certain things that the men who were going off to fight had to abstain from, like they couldn't be involved in certain sins. And it said they couldn't because the angelic beings would be fighting with them. I want you to really think about that and think about the way the Most High does things. He's not going to fight for us if we're trying to stay connected to this wicked, evil system. You can't continue to say, oh, well, the Most High will forgive me for trans, and then you think you're going to walk in some authority and power. Oh, well, the Most High forgive me for still shacking, but I want the power. Think again. You can't continue to just live your life any old way, be filthy, wanting to spend time doing things that you know is wrong. Your heart is convicting you and it's been convicting you, but you keep doing it because you're thinking, well, the Most High is merciful. Christianity taught you that. The Most High is merciful. He's gracious, but he's also just. And he was not going to fight for our people when they were laying up with devils. So we need to get that part straight. Another reference was to Yah's appointed time for the destruction of the sons of darkness. So we need to know that there is an appointed time for them to be destroyed. But these things that have been prophesied, they need to be fulfilled. So yeah, they're going to be able to do some things. They're going to work miracles. But what's behind it? This is what you have to keep in mind. It's not because they're so smart. They have learned how to tap into their source. The fourth one was the reference to the recovery of Judea and restoration of the temple. So on that one, I would say the restoration of our people as a whole. We know that's coming. Now, the other thing that I notice is that it would often use the term kittim in the passages. And it seems to be a dual reference to the Romans, and yet it's also talking about the enemies of Israel. Now, let's tie that into Daniel's vision about the legs of iron. That's the last kingdom that's in place when the stone comes from heaven. The Gentiles will be trampling Jerusalem underfoot. Let's go on. So this is what the scrolls look like, and portions of it, you'll just have fragments. I actually have a copy of the book, and they're just fragments, but you can get quite a bit from it, as you read through it. It reads almost like a manual for military strategy and organization. And that's the thing, family. When it comes to us, we have to understand that we cannot lean to our own understanding when it comes to fighting against our enemies. Can you not see where they're going? Artificial intelligence is taking them to a whole new level. We cannot fight against that in our own strength. We need Yah to give us the strategy. Our enemies are in league with the forces of darkness. They've tapped into occultic powers. What do you think it's about when all these kids are coming up missing? People coming up missing. They're tapping into occultic powers. So it's never going to be a fair fight for us. We will lose every time if we try to fight in our own strength. You need to understand that right off the bat. But there's a passage that I read. I want to read this. It speaks about kittim. It says, And the part before was a fragment, so we don't know what the words were that came before that. Of the Kittim in Egypt, when his time has arrived, he shall march out with great fury to wage war against the kings of the north, his wrath aiming at exterminating and cutting off the horn. And then something's missing. I'm going to just insert some word here, but it will be a time of salvation for Yah's people and a time of dominion for all the men of his lot, but of everlasting destruction for all the lot of Belial. There will be panic, and then something's missing here, and then it says the sons of Japhet, Asher, shall fall down. There will be no rescue for it. Think about the iron, the legs of iron, and those 4 kingdoms from Daniel's vision. Who are we looking at in the last days? These are descendants of Japheth. It says the Kittim's dominion, and this is what I mean when I say they use that word Kittim to refer to Rome in certain passages, but also to the enemies of our people. The Kittim's dominion shall come to an end, wickedness being subdued without a remnant. They will have no remnant. None of them will be left. Neither shall there be an escape for the sons of darkness. No escape. Total destruction. Total destruction. So keep that in mind as well. The Most High is telling us these things for a reason. Now, there's another section in the War Scrolls, and it gives us an account of these battles in which the sons of light are fighting against the sons of darkness. Of course, sons of light, it's referring to our people. But it lists those nations, and then where there's a portion or time of fighting when our people are having to fight against these different nations, and it starts out with Aram, Naharam, and then next we had to fight against the sons of Lud. Next we had to fight against Uz, Hul, Togar, and Masha. Then sons of Arpachshad. I may not be not pronouncing some of these correctly. Sons of Asher, Persia, and Cadmon. Sons of Elam. Then we see we had to fight against the sons of Ishmael and Keturah. Then we had to fight against the sons of Ham. And the last one, last battle, sons of Japheth. We're in the last one. That's what comes. Time of Jacob's trouble. Who are we talking about? The seed of Japheth. But they're the last ones. So, it's an interesting read. You have to kind of weed through a lot of it. But just know that a final battle comes, and they will be destroyed completely. So how prepared are you? And I'm not talking about us as a people here. I'm talking about you individually. I ask that question so that you begin to think about how you hear and take in information, because we're being bombarded with strange things happening almost daily. And it can leave you feeling a bit vulnerable if you don't know how to tap into your source, the Most High Yah. The enemy, as I said, is allowed to do certain things, but we're supposed to do great exploits. Do you even believe that's possible? And I'm really talking to our brothers right now. Do you even believe it's possible? Because you're going to have to gird up your loins. What is your prayer time like? Are you just throwing up a prayer before rushing out the door? Are you only listening to videos and tuning in for messages from your favorite teacher on YouTube and that's how you're being fed. What are you going to do if you can't get messages anymore, or if something happens to that person? Can you pray for yourself and get an answer? Or do you always have to rely on someone else to pray for you? For some of you, you have no fellowship time with the Most High. So you don't even know if He will come through for you. You need to know that He will come through when you need Him most. So it's time to change that, family. You don't want someone else to do for you what you need to be doing for yourself. You have to start making the Most High a priority, fellowshipping with Him a priority, praying, fasting, study a priority, so that you can recognize His voice when He speaks to you. And that's extremely important for husbands and fathers. You don't want to lead your family into a ditch. Scripture says men ought to always pray. That's our connection to our Father. Study to show yourself approved as well. So when disasters and scary situations happen, what's in you is going to reveal itself. If you have not taken the time to get in the Word or get it down in your heart, you will speak the words of fear and doubt, and chances are you will lean to your own understanding, which may cause you to follow in the way of the evil one. When Israel had to go against Goliath, Saul and the other men of Israel were not ready. But David was. Why? He already had a strong prayer and praise life. He had already seen the Most High move on his behalf. What was in him came out when it was needed most. He was facing that giant, and the faith that was already in him came out. He was able to speak words that aligned with Yah's words. Are you hearing this? We need to take advantage of this time to prepare ourselves spiritually, physically, and mentally for the fight ahead. But always remember that we win. We win. We need to keep that in mind. But family, know that Yah is for us, and if He is for us, who can be against us? It's His desire to show out in His people. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you. He wants to, like He did with David, just show out where the women, the sisters, we're going to be like, go ahead. He wants to show out. But we have to do our part as well. We have a part to play in this. He wants us to want Him. He's not going to force Himself on those who don't want Him. So we really need to get it together. Okay, one quick announcement, and then I'll look at some comments. We're in tutoring. This is our third phase of offering tutoring for youth in math. So for those of you with those young people, they're just now returning off some break time. If you think that they're in need of tutoring help and support, send us an email and we will put you in touch with the coordinator who can help your children or your child to get some help. We want our children to be strong, not the ones that's barely making it. No, give them the tools so that they can be effective and strong. Okay, I think I saw like over 1,000 some comments. So I already know I'm not going to be able to get to all these. Sister Cindy Carr, how are you doing, sis? I pray that all is well with you. Biblical truths and misconceptions, how you doing? So we see a lot of you tuning in. Family, I need to make a note here and say something as well. My mother comments often. I mean, she goes to bed almost every night listening to Baruch, some of the other books in the Apocrypha, almost every night. That's a good thing for us. You need to be able to hear it. If you don't have the time, as you're traveling to and fro, they have the passages on tape. Put it in so this starts getting down in your heart and in your spirit. So that's for somebody who would say, I'm just so strapped for time. As you're traveling to and fro, that's one way that you can do it. So let's see who we have here. As I said, I'm sorry if I missed some folks. Other ministries who may be joining us, but I definitely won't be able to go back through all of this. So I am says my prayer is for those who can see and prepare themselves. Absolutely. We have to prepare. Juan says a regiment goes before a king. The Most High wrote the rules. Don't get upset about 144,000 if you're a male and have a wife and kids. This is not your level. The spiritual sacrifice, sufferings, election. And Yah has already selected those who will be serving in that role. That's going to be a special role for those men. All right, let's go on. Hebrew in business, how are you? Says salvation is of our Elohim. Chi-chi. Yeah, no bunkers and no moon. Look, they really think they're getting there. I'm just, Moshe Yahoo. Facts. The power is in the blood. So they shed as much blood as possible and using the innocent young children. Yeah, that's exactly what that's all about, family. And some are drinking. Going home to Mount Zion. Look at what's happening to them. Not just there, all over the world. Every time you turn around, there is something. It's like, my word. And some of that information we don't get here. You only see it if you read articles from other countries. Let's see. Drea says, people used to get mad when that was stated, and I could never understand why. Why would one be mad when it states that the Most High will destroy the wicked? I don't either. I mean, what is there to be mad about? It's like we just want to continue doing what we want to do and no repercussions. Oh, no. 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 Brother Roderick said, being warriors in our blood. All right then, bro. Look, we're gonna be back there praying, the daughters of Zion praying, going on in. Well, we do that weekly, praying for our brothers and our sisters, praying for our people. Let's see. Jerome, that's exactly who they are. That's who they are. Only 60 games played said we must stay on course. Yes, we must. And align ourselves with truth, with Yah's word. We don't have time for foolishness, family. We really don't have time for nonsense that's going on out there. No. Brother Charles says, the powers that be definitely don't want us to ever see or hear this information. No, they don't. They want to keep putting things in front of us, these psyops. But Yah be praised. Yah be praised. All right. Brother Caleb says, build a relationship with Yah daily. We all have to do, we can't make excuses. You all, it's 9:20. You know what that means, right? I get my words right here. Get those words right. All right. Sarashi is talking about the fog. You now see that right there. That right there. Folks are getting sick and, talking about different respiratory issues going on without, like I said, family, you got to be able to pray for yourself. You have to be able to get a breakthrough. Let's see. How you doing, Sister Alma, Sister Vita? Let's see. Council's girl, Jeremiah 49:10. I will find all their hiding places. Look at you. He sure did say that. I will find all their hiding places, so they will not be able to hide from me. I know that's right. Look, they trying to hide. They just think they're so arrogant. That's the thing, But yeah, they gonna see that they've been made to be fools and liars. How you doing, Sister Cece? Charles West. Saul was useless at that point. Yeah. You all, please remember to hit the like, help us with the algorithms. You all know what I've been talking about lately. So shadow banning, you all know what that's about, right? So definitely hit the like and share. Yes, we win, according to Ann Roderick. Thank you, Sister Cindy. Thanks for tuning in. Vita said, great is he that is in us than he that is in the world. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's see. Let's go scroll through a few more. Chosen daughter of Zion, study the word, fast and prayer. Fasting is a key. Absolutely. I'm telling you. Oof. Okay. On the Wise Radio says, women, you cannot stand by. Encourage your men to stay strong, not weaken them. Absolutely. We need to keep them up, keep them lifted up. I mean, we're about to see things we've never seen before, things we couldn't have even imagined. I mean, just think 5 years ago, some of the things that they're doing now, we would have said, oh, come on, no. But you see it happening. Council's girl, he who endures to the end shall be saved. Audrey says, my mom always used to say, know how to do your own praying. I know that's right. If I can't reach somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning, I know how to go in for myself. I need to go in for myself. Okay, let's see. Only 60 says he falls asleep listening to Yah's word. I'm telling you, how you doing, Brother Harold? He says, I'm disabled, but I stay in prayer with my Messiah. Absolutely. Yah is able. Let's see. I keep saying a few more, but you all have some good comments. So scrolling through. So Tazuri says, good for her. Baruch speaks of the great splendor of the Most High Yah, truly inspiring fear, not Israel. That's right. That's right. Thank you, Gates of Hell, the moderators. You all are always on it. I'm so appreciative of your help and support. It's great to see several of our Zion's Daughters of Zion Women Prayer Group members tuning in as well. I'm telling you, those sisters are going in every week praying. A Hebrew in business. Let's see what you said here. I rejoice. I remember when I used to do studies on what the heathens do. Yah told me the heathen will always do what heathens do. So we must be set apart and strengthen ourselves. That's the part. Be set apart. Be set apart. Sister Alma says, so much bickering and division, distractions. We have to stay away from the distractions, family. Keep that stuff out of your ear. You got to stay focused on what Yah is wanting you to do and focus on in this hour. Shaya, I sing to the Most High. I know, that's my favorite time in my praise and worship. I mean, you don't have to wait for music. You got a song on the inside of you. He loves it when we sing to him. She says, I can't sing worth a lick, but I keep him on my heart. That's all right. He knows. B. Smith says they're already building cave bunkers. And you remember the passage we just read. He's going to find them. You can run, but you can't hide. I am of the light. New subscriber here. Well, welcome to you. Welcome to you. All righty. I think we can go ahead and wrap up here. Again, tutoring for those who are interested in getting tutoring for your children's school age in math. Go ahead and send us an email and we can send the information to you. Also, it's on the community page where the link is there where you can go ahead and just complete the information and that can be forwarded to the coordinator. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Biblical truths and misconceptions. Thank you for another great lesson and discussion. Be safe, be loved, and be about Yah's business. That's all I can do. Look, I was reminded of that this week during my prayer time. Like, stay focused. I have an assignment. Stay focused on that assignment. Oh my word, since I started the study on Rome, look, I'm not even going to give the enemy any props. I'm just thankful that I know how to pray and I have people who pray for me. But I see why it's been so intense because this information is like, oh, okay, what? So, yeah. All right, family, we're going to wrap it up with that. Be blessed, stay focused, and prepare yourselves for what's coming. Be blessed, family.